Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's doing well. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about globalism to start the show off today. We've got a lot to cover, as always. Things are all over the place in terms of the news, things developing. There's a toxic spirit in the air. Anytime I upload an Enoch video about the book of Enoch, I get a lot of hate. And it's not just people wanting to have a discussion, it's vitriol. So I just learned to expect it. But, there's definitely an energy in the air. And typically when this happens, it's usually leading up to something. So be prepared for spiritual battle because it is coming. 2023. Now I want to start off today's discussion talking about globalism. What does that even really mean? And why is it something that we should be concerned about? Well, eventually, the goal of the controllers is to have the entire world look exactly the same. Now, some people might not understand that that's not a good thing. Diversity is a good thing because what would happen if the world looked all exactly the same? Well, that would mean that there's a common author behind that world. Now, the Bible tells us who rules this reality. It's the devil. This is why he was able to offer Jesus the kingdoms of the world as a temptation, because he owned the kingdoms of the world. Of course, Jesus rejected it, but somehow we don't understand how that contradicts passages like Romans 13 that seem to tell us to be in subjection to those very demonic governments. So, not is all what it seems, is it? Now, we've seen this. It's interesting because in the France video that I uploaded, there was a segment in there where the Tour de France came by and there was what was called a caravan. And that was kind of one of the highlights of that experience. Well, the caravan had all these brands and companies that we have right here in America. Now, a lot of people might think, oh, that, who cares? That should be fine. International commerce. But the trend now is that all countries are starting to do this. Now, we did see with Russia, a lot of those companies pulled out because Russia's not playing ball or so they want us to think, playing ball in the world order. So they've been quote unquote punished. I think that was just a stunt so that the people of Europe would go along with the higher energy prices and make some sacrifices to try to stick it to Russia, is the way I think that all of this is developing. So they had to make it look like the world was isolating Russia. So that's why all the companies pulled out. But essentially, the entire world will begin to look exactly the same. And this will be the writing on the wall. This is when we will know the world order is in place. We will have an international currency. There will be similar restaurant chains, same pharmaceuticals, and everything else. Now, it's funny because when politicians pretend that China is this threat, like some fierce competitor or some determined adversary, it makes me laugh because America is looking more and more and more like China every single day. Now, here's one example. I didn't know this, but did you know that almost half of all Teslas sold in the world are sold to China? I didn't know that. 40% of Tesla sales go to China. Now, why does that matter? Well, because it clearly demonstrates that electrification is a global trend. It's something that all countries are in agreement with. Now, who decided that? Who decided that the entire world was going to be on board with the electrification technology? Now, that's one example. Another example is networks, 5G and 6G. Those are global trends across countries. Now, you would think that some countries would be rejecting electric cars, for instance, just based on, Countries having their own opinions about electric cars versus gas cars, the same way people have opinions about gas stoves versus electric stoves, right? You would think that there would be some countries that just aren't on board with it. But it just seems like all the major countries are just going along with this secret agenda hiding in plain sight. Now, Chinese Tesla owners are really upset right now. Why? Well, they missed out on a surprise rebate that cut the price of the car significantly. This is out of Reuters. It says Tesla owners in China protest against surprise price cuts that they missed. And these are the kind of shady dealings that occur with some of these new technologies as they begin to come online and begin to develop. Let's read this. Hundreds of Tesla owners gathered at the automaker's showroom and distribution centers in China over the weekend, demanding rebates and credit after sudden price cuts that they said meant that they had overpaid for electric cars they bought earlier. So these people are upset. Let's see if there's some video of this. Let this ad play through here. But yeah, this is what's going on, you guys. Shady dealings. Now, one of my close friends, was almost bought a Tesla. And he told me about his experience. He actually liked the experience, but I thought some of the things that he described to me were kind of odd. I mean, these are not cheap cars, are they? And he said the entire thing was done over the phone. There was no showroom he went into. There were no documents signed, like hard documents. It was all done through e-signatures. And this is for a $70,000 car. And I was like, that's weird. Like, that's a lot of trust to put in entering a contract where you're going to be on the hook for $70,000. You're also putting out a large down payment like that. That's a lot of trust to have when there is not even a showroom to go to. Now, he didn't end up going through with it, but I thought it was odd that a transaction of that magnitude could all be done through pictures and e-signed documents. Now, when we think about the future of how social media is handled, we always like to point the finger at China, don't we? But in this case, China, or America, beat China to the punch with the official COVID information cancel culture. Now, we already know that lots of channels got deleted from YouTube just for speaking out against the smacking of the nations. This is out of AP. China suspends social media accounts of COVID policy critics. So now China's catching up with us now with their censorship. Now I know that they censored a lot of other stuff, but these were social media accounts that they finally decided to censor. Let's read this and see what's happening. China has suspended or closed social media accounts of over 1,000 critics of the government's policies on VidCo-19 as the country moves to roll back harsh antivirus restrictions. Popular Sina Weibo social media platform said it had addressed 12,854 violations, including attacks on experts, they call them attacks on experts, wow, scholars and medical workers, and issued temporary or permanent bans on 1,100 accounts. The ruling Communist Party had largely relied on the medical community to justify its tough lockdowns, quarantine measures, and mass testing, almost all of which is abruptly abandoned last month, leading to a surge in new cases. So, things are ramping back up in China. Now, switch gears here. I've got some footage here from Sacramento. Now, many of you will remember, as these waters start to rise here in Sacramento, that I did a video standing right in this exact spot, looking out onto this pyramid. My mother had invited me to the crab shack. Now, I don't typically eat shell food, but my mother invited me, and so we had shell food that particular time years ago. But look at the water levels of the Sacramento River. Now, we had decoded this pyramid as well. There were some alignments here in Sacramento with this pyramid, so if you're interested in that building, Just do a channel search for the name Sacramento and it should pop right up. We decoded this golden bridge as well. There's this golden bridge. And this whole scene seemed to play out as the Exodus. Moses' Exodus, the parting of the Red Sea, that became this golden bridge, leaving the Pharaoh. Okay. And the firstborn was across the river, which is Sutter Memorial, which is where I just so happened to be born. But look how they've got it all in reverse. They got the Pharaoh, the Exodus, and the firstborn opposite the river, instead of the firstborn being over here, the Passover. And then here is the unclean shellfish on this side of the river, the blue bloods, the blue crabs. Weird times, you guys. So let's play some of this footage here. The Sacramento River. Look at how high that river is. I've never ever seen it that high. It's almost touching the bottom of the bridge. A lot of places got flooded out along the river. But what interests me is this dock here is actually, this is a floating dock. That's what this is. These docks adjust up with the height of the river. Look at this. My goodness. Look at it, it's almost at the front steps of this Pharaoh pyramid here. Wow. So this is what's going on in Sacramento. Now, I'm probably not going to make my way up to Sacramento, but I will be in Stockton visiting my family. My sister lives here. A lot of my family lives here. So far, everything seems to be okay, but there are more storms coming. This could easily spill over the top. There could be levee breaks, and lots of people would get flooded if these levees broke. I'm not having a really good feeling about this, to be honest with you. So just be prepared if you live in Sacramento. I mean, there are a lot of people that live here. Not everybody's going to be able to get out of the way of this thing or get to higher ground if this levee goes. Okay. As you can see, yes, it's probably 10, 15 feet from the top, but levees can give way long before water begins to overtop them. So I just wanted to share that with you so you guys can see some footage of this. Let me check in with you guys, and then we'll talk about another collapsed athlete. Now, many of you asked me to dig deeper into this phenomenon of collapsing athletes, and we touched on it during a couple of shows, but I'm a little bit worried about this, like in terms of talking too much about it, especially our opinions about what caused it, which is why I leave that part out, because I feel like some of these stories are posted so that they can slam you for misinformation, right? I think honestly, though, enough people are awake to know the truth. The truth is that lots more athletes, not just famous athletes, middle school athletes, high school athletes, celebrities, lots and lots more people are collapsing and having heart issues. And there are only a few common denominators, aren't there? So we're going to read about this newest athlete, but before we do, let me ask you a question. Let me zoom you guys up here. What happens to a football when it deflates? Let's see who gets the answer. What happens to a football when it deflates? Yep. Yeah, you got to watch out for those traps. Yep. The documentary that shall not be named. Sometimes these things are set as traps, aren't they? So you got to be very careful. Well, it collapses, doesn't it? When a football deflates, it collapses. What happened like 3 years ago before all of this athletes collapsing? What happened? Well, Tom Brady was involved in Deflategate. And it makes me wonder, was Deflategate a gaslighting ritual about the shape of things to come. Because spiritually, I couldn't really decode what Deflategate really meant. I was like, what does that really mean? It was just like some weird sports drama, right? Which I'm not really into sports. But I was like trying to figure out the meaning of that because they made a big deal out of that, didn't they? So think about it. Pigskin, the unclean animal, the unclean spirit. Once it deflates, the football collapses. And that just so happens to be what's happening with the athletes after they have had the unclean inside of them. I really think that that's what the spiritual significance of Deflategate was really all about. A gaslighting ritual for the future shape of things to come. So let's read this story about this newest athlete from a Vegas high school. Flag football player dies after collapsing. Sad story. High school student athlete died Thursday after suffering a medical emergency and collapsing during a varsity flag football game at her school. Clark County coroner identified the girl as Ashari Hughes, 16, and reported that a determination of her cause and manner of death was pending. Unbelievable. Las Vegas. Now, if any of you live in Las Vegas, have you heard of this story? It says here, the death in Las Vegas came amidst heightened attention to the health of athletes after professional football player Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin went into cardiac arrest and was resuscitated on the field during an NFL game during the Bengals. Wow. So, this is what's going on. Collapsed athletes. Now let's get into this other story. Let's switch gears here. There's some weird new missing persons story. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. Apparently a Massachusetts mother went missing after she went on some kind of real estate interview for some position. This is her here. And the newest information is that her husband was caught driving past the house. Then one of her houses burned down. Let's start from the beginning here and see if we can get down to the bottom of this particular story. Missing Cohasset mom Anna Walsh husband seen on camera as police returned to home. Children removed. So, police returned to the home of the missing mother. Fox News Digital obtained exclusive images showing a man who appears to be Walsh's husband, Brian Walsh, at the scene, driving a red Volkswagen. Now, the Volkswagen didn't belong to him. It was like a friend's. 3 children were seen being transported in a separate vehicle, a gray Volvo, by who are believed to be friends or relatives away from the home. Law enforcement appears to have moved the family from the house to investigate its contents. Anna Walsh, 39, was last seen on New Year's Day when she was reportedly expected to use a ride-sharing service to Logan International Airport in Boston to get a flight to D.C., where she works for an international real estate developer and property manager. Now, this guy doesn't even look like her husband. Let's see here. I think there's a picture of her husband here. That's the fire. We'll get into that in a minute here. So I think there's some pictures of... here, is this him? Okay, so this is the husband here. Does this guy look like that guy? That guy doesn't even look anything close to this guy. This is like a middle-aged, overweight man. Look at the neckline there. Like, he looks nothing like this guy. I mean, maybe, but they're saying that that's him. And let's keep reading here. Now, she went missing on New Year's Day. She was going to go to D.C., which raises all kinds of questions. Cohasset Police Chief William Quigley previously told reporters that investigators could not immediately confirm the rideshare picked Walsh up. Walsh's phone has been turned off since New Year's Day. Wow, she turned her phone off. She was reported missing by her employer, Tishman Spire. I think that's a kind of affluent employer there. I've heard of that. Like, oh, is that like the Tishman building? I wonder. A high-end property management and real estate brokerage, and her family. Several marked and unmarked vehicles arrived at Walsh's current home. In an update provided to Fox News Digital Sunday afternoon, a Cashapp police spokesperson said the activity at the home this morning is coordinated activity involving CPD and Massachusetts State Police personnel. So what is going on here? Well, there's something weird. There's some kind of shady thing going on here. This comes a day after the ground search conducted by Massachusetts state troopers and Cashapp police officers was suspended Saturday after yielding negative results for the second straight day. Police also said the cause for a fire at a nearby property owned by Walsh located on Jerusalem Road was accidental. So here are the cars that were driving by, picking up the children or whatever. Let's look at this fire. Now, this is weird. Now, typically fires are used to erase evidence, aren't they? They're saying it was an accidental fire. But if this lady was into some, in the inn club and with some high-end people, and they wanted to destroy some evidence, the quickest way to do that would be to light a fire, right? Especially if there was something in that house that could have connected them to her. Let's read about what happened with the fire. Investigators said Saturday that a fire that broke out at the home formerly belonging to the missing Cashapp woman was accidental. So I guess it was a home that formerly belonged to her. On Jerusalem Road, really? Fire began in the attic. Unfortunately, a couple, their nanny and toddler, who were in the home at the time, all made it out safely. Investigators said initially it was too soon to say if the fire was connected to Walsh's disappearance. Huh. So, that's weird, right? Is that an accident? Let's see if there's a video here. Let's see here. Look, it's Ken McLeod. Oh, we got no sound here. Okay. So, what else is going on? Well, apparently the husband's just been arrested for not being honest with police. So this is a developing story. Hubby of missing a Massachusetts mom charged with misleading police. They arrested him. Let's read about what happened. The art swindler husband of a missing real estate executive has been charged with misleading police currently searching for the mom of three. She never showed up to her job and hasn't used her phone or credit cards. The disappearance was extremely out of the ordinary. She would not abandon her three sons, who were between 2 and 6 years old. Her husband, Brian Walsh, told cops he was asleep when Anna ordered a ride share from their Cohasset home to Logan International. Police initially said Brian Walsh was cooperating with the investigation, but the case took a turn Sunday night when they released a statement announcing his arrest. Brian Walsh pleaded guilty in 2021 to wire fraud and other charges for selling Andy Warhol forgeries. I guess these are rich people problems, right? He was looking at a no jail sentence, but prosecutors switched gears and are seeking 30 months after he was accused of embezzling funds from his father's estate while he was out on bail. So, what do you guys think happened to this lady? Let's go back in here and see what you guys think about this. Now, as we discuss this, next we'll be talking about the new red umbrella that's been added to the LGBTQ flag. And the red umbrella is supposed to represent sex workers. So we're going to look at that next, talk about why we think that is. I mean, we already had discovered that umbrellas have the same parts as a syringe. So I wonder if they're alluding to the possibility that sex workers, drug use, I don't know. Weird. So let's see what's going on with you guys. What do you guys think is going on with that missing lady? Sacrifice, maybe? Yeah, it's possible. You think they're going to find her? Do you think the husband had anything to do with it? Maybe he'll be framed for it. Who knows? Weird. All Andy Warhol art is forgeries, says Margaret. Waldo, Wally, Walsh. right. Yeah, we talked about the face-eating Portland guy on one of the other Between the Headline shows a couple days ago, I think. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, huh? Another Gabby story, probably. So, let's take a look at this new flag. This is weird. Look at this. It's a red umbrella. And so here they're gaslighting the conservatives over this. Conservatives are outraged over a pride flag idea that no one uses or wants. No, it's not the newest version of the pride flag. It's a manufactured right-wing outrage. Conservatives have worked themselves into a froth over an incarnation of the Progress pride flag that includes a red umbrella representing sex workers. Seem to believe that design has been voted on and approved by the LGBT community. The original rainbow flag has been tweaked and lifted so much recently that confusion is reasonable. Even a few LGBT community members have fallen for it now. So apparently it's not even the real addition to the flag, is what they're saying here. But the umbrella edition isn't a new reveal. The design is 2 years old and has previously been used by Chaya Raichik. So this hasn't actually been added to the flag, but people think it is, and they're freaked out about it. But weird, right? It definitely looks like some kind of disclosure. Syringe disclosure, I guess. Needles, umbrellas. So, yeah. Now, I got through a couple more episodes of the TV series Servant. And in the clips that you're going to see next, the brother decides to go behind his sister's back to get a DNA test. Why? To prove once and for all that her baby isn't really her baby. Now, why does she have a baby that everybody thinks is her baby? Well, it's a really weird story, this movie. It starts out with a family, and the mother, she loses her child. Child dies shortly after birth, and she ends up like, I don't know if she wraps the dead baby and she keeps holding it, or she gets like a doll. Oh yeah, that's right. It was a lifelike doll. And everybody went along with it because it was part of her therapy to heal from the loss of her baby. So she starts taking care of this lifelike infant. She carries it with her and to work, and nobody says anything because they don't want to disturb her, right? They want to allow her to give her a space to heal. But then it starts getting really creepy. Of course, which it should be. And then at that point, one day, a real baby replaces the doll. And then everybody has to kind of go along with that as well. But the brother is disturbed by it. Now, along with the new baby comes a new nanny. And the nanny had actually escaped from a cult. So there's this weird inference that the baby came from the cult. So let's play some of this here.
And second, I need you to help me get Jericho and Leanne's DNA. Couldn't be simpler. I already have all the equipment you'll need.
Put in that house, and you're still gonna pay.
I don't know what to do without you.
Now, here's one of the people from the cult. They go and they stalk the nanny and the family. And the nanny is the only one who can see these people because they disguise themselves as homeless people. They disguise themselves as friends of the family. They come in and out of the house. And it's hard to detect who they are because some of the people that are in their life are real and others are from this cult. They're sent by the cult, but they blend in seamlessly. So the brother gets the results back, and then he confronts his sister to come to terms with what everybody already knows, but nobody is wanting to say, that everybody saw her baby die, and that it was replaced with the doll, and then the doll was replaced with the real boy, and that it's not real and it's not her son. It's somebody else's son, and that's the big mystery. Whose son is this baby? And now I'm starting to wonder if the nanny is unknowingly working with the cult while she's in one of her fugue states where she goes off and forgets hours and days at a time. And that the boy was inserted into the family to be raised. Maybe the boy is like the spawn of Satan or something, or the Antichrist. And this whole baby swap ritual is some kind of sick ritual. Anyway, really weird series. So look on the side of her face here. I wanted you to notice this. She's got a ribbon tattoo on the side of her face. Now this girl is from the cult. And then they realize later in the episode that she's in a group of homeless teens, and they're in a park hanging out. They just live there, and they're actually part of the cult. And they posed as these homeless teens to get close to the nanny and the family. Now, we had discovered that these awareness ribbons are actually a ritual symbol. And instead of looking for cures, it's really keeping you in sickness. Why can I say that? Well, ribbons are the toxon, Toxon, mentioned in Revelation 6:2. It's Apollyon's bow. It's the toxin. It's the flattened fabric. Now, this flattened fabric also doubles as an arrow, like a bow and arrow. Because essentially what a bow and arrow, is a flattened, stiffened piece of wood, isn't it? If you look at bows and arrows, they're flat. So it's the basic shape of a bow and arrow. It's the same thing. So this is weird. Let me play out the rest of this here for you guys so you can see this.
Yeah. You just shove this up the baby's nose. You have to register, use a credit card. It takes weeks. I need this now. You'll be compensated more than fairly.
Julian, I'm done playing pet detective. No way. Just get one of those kits. And don't shove this up anyone's nose.
So, weird series, right? I'll keep watching that and report back to you guys. So, tomorrow, we're going to get into a copycat event going on down in Brazil. Just days after the Crapper Hole anniversary, on the 9th, today, instead of the 6th, which was the Crapper Hole anniversary, so you got a 69 there, the Brazilians went down and stormed their Crapper Hole. Well, so we'll break all that down. We're also going to break down the new Kraken variant. You heard me correctly. They have released the Kraken. Now, you're going to notice that I scheduled a lot of shows the rest of this week and next week, and I will be popping in with you guys some mornings in the chat while those shows premiere, because I'll be traveling to California to see my family, but I want to stay connected to you guys. I'm going to also try to get some storm beach footage while I'm there. I'll be bringing the GoPro for sure. Thanks a lot, Talisha. Thank you for all your hard work, Casey. You're appreciated. Thank you so much. And thanks for all your guys' hard work. You guys are just as much a part of this channel as I am. I'll decode the things you ask me to decode. I don't get to every single email and every single post, but I try to, as much as time permits. And so let's go into the chat for a bit, see what you guys are up to. Do you think it is possession when someone loses time with no memories of what happened? Yeah, that could be. I mean, that's a really great theory, Mama Sap. I mean, that is a really good theory. This is why you don't want to, black out. People black out from either using too many drugs or getting too drunk. Makes you wonder what happens when you black out, right? Is there another spirit going inside of you? So, thanks, Miriam. Miriam says, thanks, Casey. I love your shows. I love each and every one of you guys as well. Yes, hit the like button, please. Thanks, Redeemed. Time travel, says Big JC fan. Decode Big Bang Theory. We did some decodes on that, Tracy. The number 73. Remember, that's his favorite number. We decoded the number 73, being the opposite of the number 37. And those two numbers form a cube and a star. A cube encompassed by a star. We called it the cube star matrix. And weird thing is the number 37 is the 12th prime number. And number 73 is the 21st prime number. So you get another mirror. You get a 12 and a 21, which are mirror numbers of one another. So we did some stuff on that TV series. All right. Yes, the T-shirt. Yes, Tracy. That's the cube star matrix. That's what it is. You can take 37 dots and they arrange into the shape of a cube. Then you can take 73 dots and it forms a star around the cube. So the two are paired with one another. Now what all that means, I don't really know. We have had our theories that the star encompassing the cube is somehow trapping it on a spiritual level. So I don't know. When was the last time I visited California, says Kelly? Gosh, I think it's been 3 years. It's been about 3 years since I've seen my mother. I need to see her. She's into her 70s now. She says water's starting to come in through the backyard. I don't think she's in a floodplain, but people in California don't have large footprints in their backyards. My mom's backyard is kind of tiny, and inside that backyard, she was able to fit a in-ground swimming pool, which I then enclosed for her. We built a tent, an event tent over it. Almost freaking ended up in the hospital because I was trying to put this thing together over the pool. It's a lot harder than you might think. I was trying to put this thing together and I went to fall and I tried to grab, your instinct is just to grab something as you're falling, even though I was just falling into a pool. And I think I had my phone in my pocket and I went to grab the cross member above me and I pulled all of the abdominal muscles on my left side. And I was in pain for a week. Felt like I cracked a rib, but I didn't. And so, very dangerous. But my mom and I put together that whole event tent by ourselves over the pool. She wanted like a pool house. And then she's got redwood trees. My mom has a really beautiful backyard, but it's like a lot of things packed in the one little spot. Beautiful redwood trees. They've got to be 100 feet tall. You can see them from Google Earth. And birds nest in the trees. We had some crazy crane, some rare crane nesting in the trees, pooping all over everything. My mom was really upset about that. And of course, you guys saw the hummingbird videos. For those of you that follow the channel, you've seen my mother's backyard because we uploaded a video on it. And with the hummingbirds underneath one of the gazebos. But anyway, I tell you this story because a lot of the landscaping back there is got plastic covered with rocks. Keep the weeds down, right? Well, that plastic doesn't allow the water to drain off. So my mom says the backyard's literally filling up with water. I was like, oh boy. So I think Biden just declared an emergency for California or something like that. I don't know if I heard that in the news or whatever, but yeah. Mudslides, all that stuff. Yeah, Huba the hummingbird. My mom says they come back almost every year, Amy, so that's really cool. All right, what else is going on in the chat here? Linda has a crane that visits her lake. That's neat. Call him Steve. Are you flying? Yeah, I'm going to fly. Fortunately, the weather is supposed to be okay on the day we travel. So, because I think it's like if we were to drive, it'd be like a 30-hour drive or something crazy like that. It's the carbon. Exactly, Thomasina. That's what Joe will say. It's the carbon. It's climate change. All right. Florida swamps. The water just rises. It does not drain. Yeah, crazy, right? Wood stoves illegal in Ohio. Wow. So it's coming. And that's where people need the wood stoves, up north. It's where it gets coldest. When are people going to stand up? When are they going to stand up? I told you guys this was coming. Pretty soon they're going to make wood stoves illegal. Wow. People need to stand up. They'll say it's climate change. They'll say, oh, you know what? 1,000 years ago, when we had a lot lower population of people, it was okay to burn fires. It didn't really matter. But now, if everybody burned a fire, we would have climate change. This is what they're going to say, you guys. We need to stand up. This should be at the top of your priority list when, challenging a politician. How dare you? They want to say, how dare you? Well, we're going to say, how dare you take away a person's right to stay warm? How dare you? Right? That's what I say. Bought tent stove for my small house. Kraken is the largest octopus. Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. The Hydra and all that. Wouldn't allow payment in cash at restaurants, says Elizabeth, in London. Maybe Lake Mead will fill back up. Oh, they're being real weird about that. They're being real conservative about that. Saying, oh, just because we're getting all this rain doesn't mean it's going to fill up all of our reservoirs. Okay, so here's the thing. You guys just saw the Sacramento River, right? Where is all that water going? If you stick a dam in front of it, all that water should fill up a lake in like minutes, right? I mean, am I the only one who sees this for what it is? Weird. I think they just let all this water out. Are they damming it up? Are they actually saving the water? Because think about it. Drought is their biggest tool to beat people into submission. They can charge more for water. They can displace people from where they live based on the cost of water and not being enough water. They can reduce housing, which causes more homelessness, saying there isn't enough water rights to build a new city or build more housing. There's all kinds of things they can do when there's a drought. So, they need to start stacking up some of this water. They can't tell me that the reservoirs aren't going to pretty much fill up to the brim. They just can't tell me that that's the case. I'm not going to believe it. Yes, they let it run out to sea. Now, if I can get access to a dam and, the spillway, see if they're letting water out, then I'll do that. I don't know if I'm going to be near any dams. I'm going to kind of be in the East Bay Area, East Bay, Central Valley is where I'm going to be spending most of my time. But if I do happen to come in close proximity to a dam, I'll try to get some footage. See if they're letting out all the water. All right, what else is going on here? Be tricky here. Lots of pew-pews and wood burners. Yeah. But here's the thing. You're in the right-left paradigm and you believe that your conservative governors are trying to help you and they're going to stand up for those kinds of rights. And then they don't. What do? Are most people going to still stand up if their conservative governor is the one who says, oh, no more wood-burning stoves? A lot of people won't. They won't stand up because they'll be like, wait, he's on our side, but he's really not. So that's what concerns me. Look at all the stuff Trump got away with. So, all right, here in Polk, they aren't allowing people to dig wells. Wow, see? It's coming. They think they have the right of water. Now, think of the blasphemy of this. God gave Adam dominion over the earth and everything in it, all the animals, the water, everything. And here you have the satanic governments trying to stand in between our birthright. That is very satanic, you guys. Where's the faith? Where's the faith of the people who control this world? Obviously, they don't have faith, right? But, their argument is, oh, we have to do this because we don't have enough faith to believe that God, when he gave us the edict that man should rule the earth, that he wasn't serious. Now, if I ruled the world, which I'll never rule the world, obviously, because Satan rules this world, but if I could snap my finger and be in control of the world, I would keep going along as we have, in faith that God and what he said about us having dominion and being good stewards of the world and having dominion over the animals and everything, I would give that right to man, as long as they're not being wasteful, and have faith that God will sustain the planet, right? I mean, you guys, people have been building fires since the beginning of time. That's how people stayed warm. So to take away the right of a person to do that is blasphemy. It's against what God set out for man. It's pure blasphemy. Now people can say, oh, Casey, well, as technology gets better, we should find better ways. No, because that's their way of controlling all of us. If they had a free energy and that was a better way, then I would say, okay, use that instead of building a fire maybe. But they haven't given us that. They charge us for everything, and everything is going up. This year, we just did a show talking about our electricity costs will be going up 20% this year based on Biden's new legislation. So, that's what's going on, you guys. No fire. Can you imagine the fire police out? Instead of the fire department, it's going to be the fire police. Put that fire out. You're going to have people running around ratting on each other. And they won't even have to have a police to monitor people in building fires, because neighbors will tell on each other. They'll be like, you can't build a fire if I can't build a fire, because they don't have the guts to go against the rule, and they won't build a fire. They'll just shut down your ability to build a fire. Because this is what people do now. They tell on each other. They'll sit in their house and watch you and tell on you. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Now, hopefully things change, but I don't think they will. But at least we can do is raise awareness about the agenda and where things are headed, so we have a fighting chance, right? So that at least we can say we didn't do everything we could to raise people's awareness about what's coming. Because if we just sit in darkness and allow all this to happen, then we're just as culpable, aren't we? We at least have to tell people the truth. I tell people the truth. Sometimes they don't want to hear it. I'm like, this is what's really happening. There is no right and left. These people all work together, and this glaze comes over their eyes, and they just can't even believe what I'm saying. They're like, really? You know, if you don't vote, you know, the left's going to win. I go, they're going to win anyway. And then when they want the right to win, the right will win. This is just what they're going to do. You have no power over that. It's all orchestrated. And then I give them proof. I'm like, look at these conservative governors. Look at these, like yesterday's show, we were talking about the free benefits that they're giving out to illegals in conservative states, still giving away freebies. Heck, we didn't even get into all the benefits. We only got into some of the benefits. We didn't get into driver's licenses and all that. So, this is what's really going on. And there's an agenda just behind the veil. Just behind the veil. People are blinded by it because they're in the paradigm. They're in fear of the other side. And so they don't even see what's right in front of their face. That we're marching toward globalism, which is how this show began. We started the show off talking about globalism. They don't even realize that when you go to other countries that we're supposed to hate, there's still McDonald's over there. Wait a minute. Now, we should look at restaurants in Iran. That would be a really good show. See which ones cross over between the United States and Iran. You know, we claim to be in competition and hate these countries and be in fear of them, and then they have the very same stores and businesses. It's crazy. So anyway, you guys, I'll let you go. I've been rambling for far too long. We'll be back on here tomorrow with the Crapper Hole copycat event down in Brazil, and as well as the new Kraken variant. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.